Hello everyone, and thank you for being here today. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe so you miss stories like this again, because what unfolds tonight carries the kind of intensity that lingers long after the final word is spoken. The city of Seoul was breathing softly that evening, its light stretching across the streets like glowing threads weaving together millions of lives, yet somehow creating a small, quiet pocket where two hearts seemed to move in sync. The air carried a gentle coolness, the kind that nudges people closer, the kind that slows footsteps just enough to savor the moment. And tucked away from the bustling avenues, from the chatter and the clatter of everyday life, two silhouettes walked side by side with a closeness that felt both natural and deeply charged. Cha Eun-woo and Moon Jae-young had long shared a connection admired by many. People saw it during interviews, during behind-the-scenes clips, during the little smiles that slipped out when they thought no one was watching. But on this particular night, their steps seemed to echo with an unspoken understanding. They walked without hurry, their bodies angled subtly toward each other, the space between them filled with unvoiced feelings carried on the breeze. The alley they entered glowed faintly with warm lanterns swaying gently overhead. The lights made their skin look softer, their expressions more exposed, almost as if the night itself wanted to reveal what had been quietly growing between them. Eun-woo's hands remained tucked into his pockets, but the way his shoulder occasionally brushed Jae-young's hinted at something he was trying, perhaps not entirely successfully, to keep restrained. Jae-young's hair fluttered in the wind, each strand catching the light before falling across her cheek, and each time she lifted her hand to tuck it back, it felt like a small invitation to something deeper. They were talking quietly, their voices barely rising above the hum of the distant city. Something Eun-woo said made her laugh, a soft and warm laugh that seemed to melt the air around them. He watched her with an expression that held far more than casual friendship, his eyes lingering just a moment too long, his smile curving in a way that betrayed affection he hadn't spoken aloud. What neither of them knew was that someone else occupied the far end of the alley, a figure nearly blending into the shadows, holding a small camera whose lens reflected the lantern light like a tiny star. There was no sound, no call, no shuffle of feet to give away the presence. Just quiet observation, uninvited, waiting for the right second. But for Eun-woo and Jae-young, the world had narrowed to the two of them, as if time itself had dimmed everything else so they could exist in a bubble no one else could touch. Their steps slowed, and then stopped entirely. Eun-woo turned toward her fully now, brows lowered slightly, eyes searching hers with a depth that suggested he was standing on the edge of saying something significant. Jae-young paused, her lips parting slightly, her breath catching just enough for it to be noticeable. There was hesitation, not out of fear, but out of recognizing the importance of the moment, the weight of what could happen if either of them dared to move even an inch closer. Eun-woo lifted his hand, slowly, as though giving her every opportunity to pull away. His fingertips grazed her cheek, brushing along her skin with such tenderness it seemed to ripple through her entire body. She didn't retreat. Instead, she leaned into his touch, her eyes softening with a vulnerability that shimmered like a secret she had kept buried for too long. The camera at the end of the alley remained still, watching through its unblinking lens. Jae-young exhaled, a soft, trembling breath that warmed the space between them. Eun-woo stepped closer, closing the small separation that had held them in emotional suspense. Their foreheads touched. First, the contact so gentle it felt like a question, a plea, a confession hovering between them. He whispered something, too quiet to be heard by anyone but her, and whatever it was, it made her smile in a way that carried both relief and realization. And then their lips met. It was slow, deliberate, filled with meaning that had been waiting for the right moment to unfold. It wasn't rushed or uncertain, it was steady and warm, the kind of closeness that pulled the world into soft focus until nothing existed but the heartbeat of the two people sharing that kiss. Their hands moved instinctively, Eun-woo's thumb sweeping across her jawline as Jae-young rested her hand lightly against his chest, feeling the rhythm beneath her palm. Click. The camera captured the moment. Click. Another angle. Click. A third, just as they softened into each other, deepening the kiss in a way that left no room for misinterpretation. Their connection was unmistakable, undeniable, illuminated by the gentle glow of the lanterns above them. When they finally parted, their eyes opened slowly, their foreheads still touching as though reluctant to break the spell. They smiled, small, shy, intimate smiles that belonged only to two people who had stepped together into something they had been dancing around for far too long. They continued walking, fingers brushing until their hands intertwined effortlessly. Jae-young squeezed his hand softly, a silent promise, a silent acknowledgement that whatever had begun between them in that alley was not something that would fade with the morning light. Hours later, when the photos surfaced online, the reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Social media ignited like a spark dropped onto dry grass, quick, loud, unstoppable. Fans flooded timelines with shock, celebration, disbelief. Articles were published within minutes. Analysts dissected every pixel of the images. Some insisted they knew all along. Some denied the possibility. And some simply stared, stunned by how much emotion a single captured moment could carry. Agencies scrambled behind the scenes, phones ringing incessantly, conversations overlapping. Should they respond? Should they stay silent? Should they release a statement or wait for the storm to settle? None of it mattered to the two people at the heart of it. Their truth had already been revealed. Imagine Eunwoo and Jae-young later that night, sitting side by side as their phones vibrated continuously on the table. Notification after notification flashed across the screens. Their faces would reflect the weight of the moment, the shock, the uncertainty, the realization that a private connection had been pushed under the brightest spotlight imaginable. Yet in that swirl of tension, Eunwoo would reach for her hand again. This time, she wouldn't hesitate. Her fingers intertwined with his, steady and sure, grounding them both in something real amidst the storm. The world could argue, could speculate, could shout into the void of the internet. But they knew what the moment in the alley had meant. They knew the truth behind the kiss, behind the closeness, behind the look in each other's eyes when the world wasn't watching, or so they thought. Days passed, and the noise eventually softened. Discussions shifted. The frenzy cooled. But their connection remained untouched by the whirlwind of public attention. What had been captured was not weakness, it was clarity. It was two people standing on the edge of something beautiful and finally stepping forward. And as the world continued spinning,